Hello friends, and welcome to the video. So today I wanted to look at Meister Eckhart. We've done a few Christian non-dual videos already. I did the one about the cloud of unknowing, which is kind of contemplative prayer, so kind of meditation, non-dual meditation. And I did the Gospel of Thomas. Now we'll look at Meister Eckhart. Now I will tell you that I'm interested in non-duality. I'm a Christian. I'm interested in putting it together because I have found truth in non-duality. And so if Meister Eckhart's talking about the same thing that I'm talking about, what's here, then, or unless he just made it all up, the whole of Christianity, it's pointing to the same thing as we discuss occasionally in the comments about Buddhism. It's pointing to the same thing. We're trying to describe this. It doesn't really matter so much. It does actually. If the doctrines and the models that they have and the different types of stories they have, mythologies, are coincide or not. We are looking at what's here and trying to work out from that. So, and each different religion has its own richness, has its own little twists that can be interesting. And yes, disagree with each other. There you go. There's also a lot of politics behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Meister Eckhart from this way that probably is not very scholarly. I'm just going to say what I like about it. Now, I'm not the first person to do this. Of course, Christianity has been used to start wars, and Meister Eckhart's been read in different ways. Often he's seen as non-dual mysticism. So the first thing that really connects with Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, is the idea of the ground. So the ground in Meister Eckhart is completely a Christian, completely a very important theologian. He did all these sermons in Latin, very scholarly, and he spoke in High German as well, the vernacular, so the language of everybody, and sometimes they were a bit more mystical. And he has this idea, well, he believes in the Trinity, of course, and the ground is the ground of God and the ground of your soul. So it's the same thing underneath. And this is just like in Advaita Vedanta, where we take the implied meaning of tvam. So thou art that. You are Ishvara. You are God. You are the God with form. You, the jiva. You, the person. Now, clearly that's not true. I can't make it rain, as I always say. But when we take the implied meaning, we take away all the attributes and things that are different, and what we're left with is this ground, Brahman. So you, Ātman, the thing that you really are, beneath all of these name and form and everything that makes you different, and God, when we take away all the limiting factors, his form or her form, powers, all of this, what's there underneath is the ground, is Brahman. And that's what you are. So that is the same in Advaita Vedanta. We're not saying that you are God, you as the ego or the separate self is God the Father or God the Son. You are the new Jesus. No. What we're saying is that the ground of them, that the Trinity, which is one, and your ground of your soul is the same thing. There's also another nice thing that he is always often quoted, this line that Meister Eckhart said, which was, the eye which I see God is the eye that God sees me with. And this really ties it into consciousness. So it's not just being, your ground from which everything rises, being itself, because Meister Eckhart saw God as being existence itself. Just like in Advaita Vedanta we see Brahman as being existence, consciousness, bliss, Meister Eckhart saw God as being existence itself. But also we see that God it's the same I, so the same consciousness, looking through. The thing that you look at God with is the thing that God looks at you. And going maybe a more traditional Christian viewpoint, God knows God itself in you. So you're this form, and God, the ground in you, knows itself. So you could see that as you getting enlightenment and you understanding that you are God. You're God, realizing that you're God. But we're not talking about God the Father, God the Son, the Holy Spirit, but in fact the ground, the thing beneath it all. Now, Meister Eckhart also says that God is love, God is goodness. So in the same way that we have sat-cit-ānanda and all value, Ananda, so you've got existence, consciousness, and bliss. Now this bliss is not just a feeling of bliss, a sensation which would be an object. It's a source of all bliss. It's anything you see which is nice, or you enjoy, anything good, or you know, morally good, or beauty, or beautiful music, or love. All of this goodness, and moral goodness maybe also, all of that is just a reflection of your true self. It's you are the source of all goodness. God is the source of all goodness. The ground, that's everything that every time you act well, according to Meister Eckhart, that's the part of you that's acting like God. So all goodness must come from God, and that's what. So God is this goodness itself, existence itself, and knowing. So we also have another thing which is similar to Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism as well, the apophatic negation of God. God is not this, God is not that, God is not anything that I can objectify. And I don't think they put it in that way, because in Advaita Vedanta it's very clear. The reason why you can't, why we have this neti, I am not this, I am not this, is a way of seeing that you are not the body, you're not the mind, and your thoughts, your emotions, none of that's me. This will that I have, I think I have, or this desire, all of that, if it's an object, then it is not you. So it is your true self is nothing that you can name, is no thing, because everything's objective. Everything you can name appears to you, and you are the thing which everything appears in, if you like. Well, I'm not sure how accurate that is. There is only you. You are one without a second. And we have this feeling, this sense in some of the Sufi ideas as well, which may have been influenced by Neoplatonism in the same way that Meister Eckhart was influenced by Neoplatonism. So maybe that's a common root, where if God can be limited in any way, if you're not God, then God has been limited by your amount. So that's the power that you have. You are just taking a chunk out of God. You are the thing which God is not. And it's not pantheism. It could be panentheism. So not just the whole world is God, kind of Spinoza's God, but everything beyond it. But I'm not sure. God is transcendent as well, and immanent, as in Advaita Vedanta and as in Christianity. So that's the idea. Transcendent and immanent, not just immanent, not just the universe, but beyond it too. So through this apophatic, these steps, we say, God is not this, God is not this, God is not this. And you even get to the point where you're saying God is not God. God is not good, and all these things, to say that God is beyond any concepts you can have. And this, in my opinion, fits nicely with Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism, this idea that this no thing, this emptiness. And Eckhart talks about this emptiness also becoming fullness, which is another thing that Advaita Vedanta talks about with the Purnam, in this fullness of everything. Now, another thing that's interesting is how Meister Eckhart sees the creation. So some of the ideas that I like about coming from David Bohm. So David Bohm was this scientist who was friends with Einstein, and he got interested in spirituality and got interested in thought, and Jiddu Krishnamurti was influenced a lot by him. And he first came across, started thinking about this way of seeing reality, because when he was looking at physics, he saw that things jump between energy levels, and there's no in between. So an electron doesn't move to a different energy level. There's no path. It instantly teleports. It's here and then it appears there. And from this you can see that everything is not really coming from the past into the future. There's a probability, the connection of probability statistically. But everything's just arising in the present, in the moment. And we put this psychological time, we map it out, so we observe change in different things, and so we use that so we can catch trains and things like that. But this idea that reality is being created every moment, just like the television. The causality within the television that we see, the ball is kicked by a boy and moves. That's not really, the image of the boy kicking the ball is not what makes the ball move. It's the television. It's the next image that's being created. And in the same way, Meister Eckhart talks about God giving birth constantly to the world in this eternal now. So creation didn't happen in the past. It happens every moment, every moment. Everything is new, everything is fresh. And this ties into the idea that you are really outside time. Time, as in Advaita Vedanta, is part of the illusion, part of Maya, something that appears in you. So I think that was all. Probably not. But yes, so as you can see, a very respectable, at least at first, he was respectable until he started talking about this, Catholic theologian, came up with these ideas, influenced by, maybe Neoplatonism, maybe some of the mystics who were around at the time. But it does show that Christianity can be seen in this way. He was accused of heresy. He did go to trial, and he died before it was the decision was made, the verdict, but which was that he was not a heretic. Some of the things he said, yes, maybe heretical, and so the church has never really completely embraced him. He's gone out of fashion, into fashion, but over the last 100 years or so, he's become more popular, clearly because what we're discovering now with this mix of religions, that there is a common theme, and it is this thing that's here, this reality that we're all experiencing, not some conceptual dogma or mythological story. This is what we are here to explore if we want to explore God. Right? I hope that was interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.